Hello, Marion. This is the last day of February, 1977, and I thought maybe I'd put something on your tape for you like everybody else did. It won't be as good, I know, because I'm no singer anymore, but I'll try, and I'll sing you a little song that my grandma sang me a long time ago when I was a kid, and the name of it is Nothing is What You Could Wish It to Be. One day as I wandered, I heard a complaining. I saw a poor woman in a picture of gloom. She glared at the mud on the doorstep was raining, and this is her wail as she wailed at her broom. Life is a toil and love is a trouble, and beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double, and nothing is what you could wish it to be. There's too much of worriment goes to a bonnet, and too much of ironing goes to a shirt, and nothing will pay for the time you put on it, and nothing will last but trouble and dirt. Life is a toil and love is a trouble, and beauty will fade and riches will flee. Pleasures they dwindle and prices they double, and nothing is what you could wish it to be. How's that? There's another funny little song. And they say that he's an honest man. And I'll sing it for you while I'm at it. I knew a very wicked man, I knew him when a lad. I never met his equal telling lies. He takes delight in doing anything that's bad, and he thinks he'll go to heaven when he dies. One night he robbed his dear old grandma in her sleep. She stole 2 golden teeth out of her jaw. He's a raving little man like when he begins to preach, but the neighbors think that he's all right because he goes to church on Sunday and he passes round the contribution box, but you meet him in the office on a Monday. He's as crooked and as cunning as a fox. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's robbing everybody that he can, but he goes to church on Sunday, so they say that he's an honest man. I always thought my family doctor honest as could be, until I had a pain the other day. You have appendicitis, I can plainly see. You need an operation right away. He charged $300 for the operation then. He found I only had the stomach ache. But he left his scissors in me when he sewed me up again. Then he went and marked me open by mistake. He goes to church on Sunday, and he passes round the contribution box, but you meet him in the office on a Monday. He's as crooked and as cunning as a fox. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's robbing everybody that he can, but he goes to church on Sunday, so they say that he's an honest man. I could do a whole lot better if I carried a tune in a basket with a cover over it. To be 75 years old, you're kind of over the hill, and you're not very good for singing anymore. Anyway, we tried, and I guess you can make out the words. And I hope it didn't bore you too much. So I guess this is all for now. Goodbye, Marion.
Today is December the 13th, 1986. This is Rose Lamb speaking. This would have been Chester Oatley's birthday. He was born on December the 13th, 1895, I believe. And this is a history of our father. Our father was born in Owego County, March the 31st, 1875, to David and Roselta Farnam. Her maiden name was Martha, and they had 7 children. Florence Lenora, Aunt Nora Titus, had 3 boys and 1 girl. Lawrence Marion, our father, 1 boy and 3 girls. Eliva, Aunt Evie Ashcraft, had 3 girls. Jennie died at birth. Georgia Victoria, Aunt Georgia Scott, had 9 children, 2 boys and 7 girls. Arthur Leroy Farnam, 1 boy and 1 girl. Leona May, Aunt Leona Watson, had 2 boys. Our grandparents homesteaded 40 acres, 8 miles northwest of Manton. moved in a covered wagon from Newaygo County. Our dad was 12 years old, walked and led a cow all the way from Newaygo to the homestead. Our grandpa cleared the acreage and built a log cabin. I, Rose, was born there in the log cabin. Dad's employment was mostly lumber camps in winter. Summers he worked on threshing machines, farms, or whatever he could find. Our parents were married in Traverse City in 1899, then moved to Hitchcock, where Jennie was born in 1901 on October the 18th. In 1902, at the age of 55, Grandpa Farnam passed away. Our parents then moved in with Grandma Farnam. She took care of Mother when I was born on August the 5th, 1903, and passed away 3 weeks later at the age 48. She had typhoid fever. Aunt Leona was 6 years old and Uncle Art was 12, and they lived with us from then on. In 1905, we moved to Manton. David and Alice were both born there, and Dad worked in the pickle factory. In October of 1908, we moved back to the farm, where the folks stayed until 1921. In 1919, I secured employment in Cadillac and stayed with Aunt Nora. Jennie was married to Chester Oatley June the 19th, 1920, and moved to Measy. In 1921, our parents moved back to Manton. In 1923, our parents moved to Cadillac with a team and wagon and lived at 912 Ernst Street. Dad did draying and moving with the team, later bought a Rio truck and did trucking. Mother had a restaurant on North Mitchell Street a couple of years, I think 1928 and 29, called the Michinogan, an Indian name. After that, she did wallpaper and sold wallpapering and sold wallpaper. Our life on the farm was not good. Times were very hard. We walked 1/2 mile to school and waded snow so deep it covered the tops of the fence posts. I was janitor at the school a couple of years and had to go early and build the fires to get the school warm. Our winter fuel at home was mostly pine knots full of pitch, which we would gather in the summer and fall. Also would pick all wild fruit, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, huckleberries to can for the winter use. In 1911 or 1912, our barn burned to the ground and burned our horses too, and we could not get them out. Our mother had been very ill in bed for some time, and they carried her out of the house, and neighbors kept throwing water on the house to keep flames from catching it on fire. This made it worse to lose our transportation. But we all survived. June 19, 1920, Jennie married Chester Oatley. 5 children were born: Betty, Dorothy, John, Dixie, and Ted. September the 14th, 25, Rose married Ivan Carl Lamb and 2 children, Nadine and Monty. On March the 21st, 1926, David married Fern French, 9 children: Gloria, David Jr., Charlotte, James, Kay, Gary, Patricia, Mary, Jane, and Dennis. And later married, in 1947, married Helen Shipman and 1 child, Helen Louise. Alice married Herbert Leach, August the 17th, 1929. They had 2 boys, Jerry, Wade, and Rodney. Jerry passed away March the 28th, 1975. Wade passed away April 1968. Alice passed away January the 13th, 1986. Cecil Kruger, a foster son, joined our family November the 19th, 1932. He married Carol Long, and they had 2 children, Susan and William. Our dad was considered a lumber camp worker. Jennie sang 2 songs our Grandma Donaldson taught us. I'll try and sing a lumberjack song our dad taught us, the alphabet song. And B is the boys that handle them so. C is the choppers who early begin, and D is the danger. They oft times are in out so merry, so merry, so merry are we. No mortal on earth are as happy as we. E is the echo all through the woods ring, and F is the foreman ahead of our gang. G is the grindstone we grind our axe on, and H is the handle so smoothly worn and so merry. So merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth are as happy as we. I is the iron we mark with our pine, and J is the jolly boys never behind. K is the keen edges our axes do keep, and L is the lies that keep us from sleep, and so merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth are as happy as we. M is the moss we stuff in our camp, and N is the needles we mended our pants. O is the owl that hoots in the night, and P is the pines that always fall right, and so merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth are as happy as we. Q is the quarrels we never allow, and R is the river our timber does plow. S is the sleighs we haul our logs on, and T is the teams that pull them along, and so merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth are as happy as we. U is the ewes we put our tools to, and V is the valley we haul our logs through. W is the woods we leave in the spring, and now you have heard all I'm going to sing, and so merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortals on earth are as happy as we. I am not a songbird, I'm a lamb. Now I will give you some of our mother's history. Our mother was born on October the 9th, 1894, to Orlin and Emma Donaldson in Torch Lake, Mich. They named her Permelia Roxini. She had 4 brothers, James, Benjamin, George, and Frank. When Frank was 3 weeks old, Grandpa Donaldson died, leaving Grandma with 5 small children. There was no county, state aid, or welfare at this time. She had no choice but to adopt them out. Mother was 8 years old and adopted by the Lucian Kaisers. She had a very unhappy childhood, as Mrs. Kaiser was a very stern, mean woman. They attended the same church and shopped, same places Grandma Donaldson did. Mother was not allowed to speak to her or turn her head to look at her own mother, or she was slapped and punished. They also changed her name to Kitty Mae Farnam, Kaiser. When she was 15 years old, she ran away from home and went to Traverse City, Mich, secured work there. And there she met our dad, Lawrence Marion Farnam. She was 16 years old in October, and on December the 16th, 1899, they were married in Traverse City. Our dad would have been 26 years old the following March. He was a very handsome man, and she a beautiful girl. They moved to a lumber camp at Hitchcock, Mich, where Jennie was born, then settled on a farm 8 miles northwest of Manton, Mich. Dad worked in lumber camps winters, and they had 4 children. Jennie Mae was born October the 18th, 1901, in a camp at Hitchcock, Mich. Rose Emma Lamb was born August the 5th, 1903, on our grandfather's farm in a log house he built northwest of Manton. David Lawrence, born August the 20th, 1905, in Manton, Mich. Alice Grace, born May the 24th, 1908, in Manton. When I was 3 weeks old, Grandma Farnam died, leaving Dad's sister, Aunt Leona, 6 years old, and Uncle Arthur, 12. Our folks raised them. And in November 1932, they took a foster son, Cecil Kruger, raising him also. She was a very caring and loving mother. Mr. Kaiser was a very kind man. After I was married, Carl and I took Mother to Torch Lake to see him. We located the old farmhouse and him, where Mother was taken after adoption. We had dinner with him, and his wife had died quite some time before. This was the first time they had met since she ran away. Mr. Kaiser was so happy to see her. Uncle James was adopted to elders. He too had an unhappy childhood. They worked him very hard. He too ran away at 17 years old, went to Grand Rapids, Mich, and got a hotel job as a bellhop. When he was 18 years old, he enlisted in the Army and served 6 years in the Philippine Islands, after which he returned to Traverse City and worked at the state hospital, manager of the hospital store for 32 years. Benjamin was adopted to the Swackhammers. Both elders and Swackhammers were farmers in the Elk Rapids, Mich area. Jim and Benny, as they were called, went to the same school together but never knew they were brothers until Benny was killed. The elders told him, Jim then. The Swackhammers were well-to-do farmers and had a 16-year-old nephew who was their only heir until they adopted Benny. He took him hunting and shot him. They proved it an accident, but there were doubts. Mother knew where Jim was and wrote many times, but Mrs. Elder burned the letters and Jim never got them. George and Frank were sent to an orphanage at Coldwater, Mich, for adoption. George was adopted to the Bonnies from Harrison, Mich. They moved with him to Bellingham, Washington, and they never returned. Frank was adopted, but I don't know their name. They abused him, so authorities took him away and put him back in Coldwater. Later, Grandma Donaldson remarried to Isaac Baldwin and got Frank back and raised him. She had 3 children by Baldwin, Esteline, Fletcher, and Vera. Vera was an entertainer, singer, and dancer. Traveled 8 years with Ziegfeld's Follies with Sophie Tucker. Grandma Donaldson's maiden name was Lane. She visited us many times with the 4 children. She was killed by a car in 1921 or 22 in Detroit, Mich, while standing in a safety zone waiting for a streetcar to take her to church. In 1913, Austin Donaldson, our mother's uncle, was looking up the heirs to some property of our great-grandma Lane's. He went to the state hospital to see Jim. Jim asked him if he knew where his sister was. He knew he had one, but didn't know her name. Austin gave him Mother's address. He lost no time writing her, telling her about himself, and wanted to meet her. He was to be married on October the 7th, 1913. He and his wife came for a visit in October, the first time they had met since 1893, 20 years. They located George in Washington also. His foster parents had passed away, and they corresponded, and in April of 1938 he came to Cadillac, Mich, for a 3-month visit. He returned to Washington, disposed of his ties there, and returned to Cadillac, made his home with our folks. There was 54 years he, our mother, and Uncle Jim and Uncle Frank had never seen one another. Uncle George passed away in April of 1947. Uncle Jim, February the 14th, 1965. Our mother, July the 25th, 1965, at the age of 80. Uncle Frank in August of 1974. And our dad, August the 29th, 1967, age 93. This is our mother and father's history as near as I can remember. She and Dad were married 66 years. I think that's all. If there's anything else that I can help you with, I'll be glad to do it. This is Rose Lamb, signing off. My apologies to you, Dorothy. I am adding 2 deaths I forgot to add to the tapes when recorded. Our brother David Farnam passed away October the 14th, 1981, and Sister Jennie Oatley, November the 21st, 1986.